Good evening. We'd like to open the planning board meeting of Wednesday, March 14th at 7 p.m. We have present tonight Guy Horn, Vice Chairman, Dan Edmondson, member. We've got John Breyer, alternate member, and our town planner, Don Johnson, and also present Mark Marziotti, Chairman. So we will get started right away with the approval of the meeting minutes for February 28th, 2018. Looking for a member or two who have read the minutes to make a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I read the minutes that were sent to us, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from February 28th as submitted.
I'd like to second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of February 28th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, and while we sign those minutes, we will move on to the next agenda item, and that is a request of Ed Switzer of Forefront Power to discuss a proposed solar array at 99 Ramshorn Road. You must be Ed?
I am Ed.
Boy, Ed.
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Sure. That's the changes, and then this is what the language would look like. Requesting the bylaws.
First one.
So I appreciate you guys hearing me today. The purpose of why I'm here, and from what I understand, the process is that currently in the town of Dudley, the only way to build a solar array is to amend the solar overlay zone that was approved last fall, last November at your fall meeting. We have a piece of property off of Ramshead Road, Ramshorn Road, that we've been looking at for the past few years, and so I'm making a, well, what I'd like to do is open up the public hearing on the request to the planning board to recommend this zoning change to the town board at their meeting in, I believe it's at the end of May. So I'm hoping to kick off the public hearing now, and then in a month we would come back with a much more developed set of site plans that you guys can take a look at, and then hopefully by that time everything that we've presented to you will be satisfactory, and we can get a recommendation to the town board at their meeting in May. I met with Don a couple of weeks ago. I met with a member of your Conservation Commission, one of your consultants. We did a site walk to confirm some of our, the initial layout that you guys have seen. Not too much has changed. We've plotted out where we think the road's gonna go. If you look at the site plan that Don has, or that it looked like he had handed out previously.
Yes.
Yeah.
There hasn't been too much of a change.
But as you can see on the site, the wetlands, they kind of bifurcate the site, and so there would have to be a crossing with an access road. And so we're looking to cross at this sort of narrow portion right here. In the top, there's an existing cart path there, and we decided with the wetland consultant that would make the most sense. So we're just going about, we're finishing up our existing conditions survey, and like I said, we're hoping to have a packet of drawing and documentation that would be sufficient for your site plan approval. Obviously, we know that we wouldn't be able to go any further down the process until hopefully you guys recommend us, the town board approves it, the AG approval, I know that that's 90 days, and then we'd be allowed to go and apply then. But we're hoping to, like I said, get this recommendation and then work with you guys while the AG is deliberating to get the site plans and everything squared away in that 90-day period, so we don't lose any time there. So
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question to
Yes.
the town planner? Don, when is the town warrant close?
It's the 6th of April, I believe. The 5th and the 6th, it's a Friday.
Okay. And do we, if we want to, okay, so putting an article on the warrant would have to be done by April 6th, but
Right.
then after that, we would have our,
Probably on the 11th, I'd say.
we would have time for advertisements, 2 consecutive,
And we can start that right now.
okay,
So we can have it on the 11th of April.
okay. So you've already did the math on it.
We can get through that right now. Set that up next week, and we'll have plenty of time to have a hearing. Aliens and so forth.
I have a question. If this was already zoned correctly, and there was gonna be a public hearing on this, well, the abutters would have to be notified. And in this case, what they're seeking is the zoning change first, and then they're gonna have to do a public hearing and notify the abutters afterwards?
Well, this is just to add this lot to the overlay district. So it would be permissible to build a large-scale solar array on the lot. If it doesn't get through town meeting, then it's, you know, it's kind of dead and it's not, you know, they don't want to go through all their engineering work and everything to find out that their lot didn't get accepted by town meeting. So the first thing is town meeting, so the abutters don't get notified for a town meeting warrant. They get notified that they just have to know what's on the town meeting warrant, and this could be on the town meeting warrant.
And that would happen when we officially apply for site plan approval and the special, I would assume a special use permit, after the AG approves it ideally at the end of August.
I mean, because I just wanted to correct you on one thing, because currently
Sure.
you said, at the beginning, you said the only way to get a large-scale solar voltaic system installed in Dudley is to go through this. That's not exactly true. If you have a piece of property in the industrial zone, it's a use by right, or in the
You're right.
TRD zone. TRD and industrial zones are use by right.
I misspoke.
So the issue here is you want to put this into a residential 87 zone.
That's correct.
So the lot has to be approved by town meetings, included in the overlay district, and then if that happens, then you could go forward with your proposed project.
That's correct.
Yeah, my only concern is, we know that there's gonna be proposal for a solar array, that's the reason for that.
Right.
So, I know technically they're following the right process here, but it almost seems as if you're pushing it through. It'd be nice to have the community support and go to town meeting saying, yeah, you know, your butters are behind this as well. I just,
It has to go that way anyway, though, first.
well, no, because technically what you're doing is you're walking a fine line here, right? You know that you want to put a solar array farm here. And currently, it's restricted because the solar overlay district doesn't extend that far. So we know we have a proposal going to be forthcoming here for a solar array farm. And so you're going to go to town meeting and ask for a change in the zoning to expand the solar array district, right?
Not to expand it, to include this lot.
To include, so right now it covers it already?
No, just to include this lot. None of the other abutting lots would be included, just this lot. So it's individually picking out the lots that a solar array could be built upon.
That it would fall under the overlay.
Yeah.
So if the abutters don't like it, they have a chance to come to town meeting and say they don't like it. And
That's if they even know this thing is happening. And that's why it would have been nice to at least notify the abutters that this is coming. And that way, you know, you could have a full-scale, educated discussion on it. I just think a lot of people are gonna be caught by surprise by this.
It's the same thing if zoning gets changed or the budget gets changed, people don't go to town meeting, they don't know what's happening.
So my counterpoint to that would be once the, if it is approved and it is approved by the Attorney General, we would still have to have the public hearing as part of the site plan approval process. So if they did catch wind and they were unhappy about it, and it did get approved at the town board level, they would have an opportunity to have that full-blown educated discussion, like you said, and protest the
Yeah,
project formally.
and it's just my own personal opinion that
Sure.
that discussion should occur before we go to the town meeting with a recommendation to put this lot in there.
That's
I'm just
understood.
saying that you want to have the discussions later. I'd rather have it ahead of time and
Right, because
in the
deplo-
fall,
Right.
go to town meeting with it.
Right, just because if my special use permit gets denied or my site plan approval gets denied, it can, 10 years from now, it's still in the solar overlay zone and someone else could propose it. Maybe times and the climate's different then, but, you know, I get that, your point, sir.
The fact is that it's not mandated that it happen in that order is really what it comes down to, I guess. So obviously, at town meeting, the warrant article will clearly state that this lot is being considered to fall under the solar overlay district, which is indicative of the fact that it's going to be a farm at that point. However, I understand your point, John, in that if none of the residents occupy the 52 seats that the auditorium fills, then they may not be aware of it. But to Guy's point, you know, that's part of the reason why we all live in the town and, you know, have a town meeting, because that's the fair and right way to make and modify rules and make sure they work.
The overlay district basically took the approval out of the planning board's hands and put it into the public's hands. So now if somebody doesn't want this, they have the right to go to town meeting with their neighbors and,
No, I understand.
you know, I mean,
So as part of the town meeting, the abutters wouldn't be notified of an action that's...
all inhabitants are notified by the town meeting warrant. Whether they
Yeah.
read it or not is up to them.
Got it.
I mean, it's in the newspaper, it's on TV, it's at the library, it's at the high school. We publish it every place we can put it. If people just don't know what's going on in town, that's, you know, unfortunately, it's 90% of the people or more.
But the point that John raises is that if you had a public hearing prior to this, prior to the overlay, you're spending money that you're not sure that this is actually gonna happen, so.
Yep.
And the environment is actually pretty good right now, in general. And, you know, if you could have smooth sailing through the town meeting. I mean, if the abutters were aware of this and they said, hey, you know what? It's better than some sort of residential development going in there or something else. As you said, you know, as you see, there's a lot of wetlands. It's part of the tough, you know, branch area. I mean, the abutters may have no problems and say, yeah, you know what? It's better this than something else.
Yeah, no,
Go to town meeting with their support, and you could just sail right through.
sure. No, I agree. And if you guys think it's worthwhile, I'm happy to work with Arcadis, our consultant, on this to, once you guys have that warrant, send it to the abutters. As a courtesy.
I mean, how many abutters, I'm looking at the layout that you gave, and I'm seeing 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, maybe 4, 5, 6 houses that could be, maybe 7 houses that could be affected, that would have a view.
And I know that we've spoken with Mr. Kim. He came over when our surveyors were out, and he spoke with them. So I know that he knows about the project. He's been actively engaged, and he would be the one probably most affected by.
And his lot is where?
It's this lot right here.
Oh, okay.
I think he's going to get some driveway repairs out of it. So
And this is the total project is a site of 42 acres.
the total area, both parcels combined are 42. The actual solar array is just on 13.5.
Okay. And
I should say that this is 2 parcels of land. It's, if you it's sort of, you can see it's sort of split down the middle, east-west, about halfway down.
So Don, is there a way that this applicant can notify the abutters of this without having a public hearing? I mean, obviously,
You have the
a
public
formal
hearing for the zoning
process.
amendment, but
Sorry?
you have to have a public hearing for the zoning amendment either way, but.
He could invite them to the public hearing
You
for
can
the
certainly
zoning
invite them to the
amendment.
public hearing, sure. Not formally required, it's standard posting.
Right.
It's the state agency, the regional planning agency, the budding towns.
But John makes a good point, and, you know, maybe it would be best to be, you know, it could go either way, but be upfront with, you know, the abutters and share with them exactly what you're doing, and, you know, have an opportunity to have it sail right through
Sure.
town meeting, and approve the warrant, as opposed to, you know, kind of feeling like they're being snuck up on, so to speak.
Sure.
You know, and I
And-
think that's what John's getting at, and I think it's a good point.
I agree with you completely. I'd rather know if the neighbors are going to be mad in May than in September. It's about 4 months less money that I have to spend if it's not going to work, so.
Sure.
Sure.
Yep. So how would you propose that we go about this, and when would the public hearing be at the town meeting, or would it be in this forum, like?
In this forum.
It's for both of them, actually. Town meeting vote, obviously, but the hearings, hearing of the zoning amendment and later a hearing of the special permit if it went through.
Okay.
They'll both be here, this
Okay.
format. So, as soon as we get the ad written up, I suppose I could copy the ad and you could mail it to the butters. Right? She'll choose.
Yeah, you obviously know who the abutters are.
Yep. Yep. We can get it to them.
Okay.
And yeah, it's no problem. And then, Don, once you send me that, I'll get it out, and whatever the next meeting is, I'll make sure I'm here.
Do your own cover letter with it and
What's that?
do your own cover letter with it and.
I'll write a cover letter.
I actually think this could work to your advantage, and I think,
Yeah, it's a
I
good
think it'd help you.
recommendation.
Yeah, no, I come from a land use development background, so like community engagement is something that I'm all for. I'm sure there'll be questions. I'm sure people are going to have issues with what it's going to look like and everything, and we'll certainly answer those questions to the best we can. Obviously, and really, if everything goes according to plan, we'll have more materials later on because we'll just have time to develop them. But we'll do the best we can when the public hearing is.
So is this your project, or are you stating this on behalf of somebody else?
It's our project. We're the developer.
And you already own the property?
We have an option to lease with the property owner, Eric Dershmitt, or the Dershmitt family,
Right.
and so it's an option right now. Once we hopefully get everything approved, we would sign the ground lease, and then we would just lease the ground from them, and they'll be right.
Okay. Very good.
and if I could just add one more thing.
Sure.
And knowing who the property owner is, I mean, I know in the past, I think he has developed and put in subdivisions.
Mhm.
So letting the abutters know that there could be the possibility
Sure.
of a subdivision going in there, because the owner has had experience doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, that a solar farm may not be,
Right, yeah, no, and if you
Too
look at,
bad.
and if you look at this sort of the way that the lots lined up and how it's split, it looks like it was subdivided because just, I don't know, just
Yeah.
that little weird narrow neck in the corner, it just is.
no, I was there when he put in, this is 20 years ago.
So yeah, that's
Okay.
like I said.
Any other comments from the board? Dan? Good?
Good.
Well, one question. Are we submitting this article, or is the landowner submitting the article? Work either way. The landowner submitting the article, and Ed will have to give permission to the landowner.
The last one, we submitted it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem either way, I just want to know if the board wants to do it.
I think it's still our responsibility to submit it.
Okay. Good.
Great.
Great, thanks a lot, everyone. I appreciate it. I'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Okay, we will move on to item C, request of Robert Ruder for a pre-application review to discuss conceptual plans for an open space residential development with access from Airport Road and Dudley Hill Road. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Bob Ruda. This is Mike Delhan. He's going to be the engineer explaining the whole project to all of us. So, so my name is Mike Delhan. I'm a principal with WDA Design Group in Westboro. And we're here tonight to try to gain some initial feedback from the board in town regarding Mr. Ruda's proposal for his property on Airport Road. Is it okay if I stand up to?
Sure.
flip
Just
through
hold the
these?
mic with you. Take your mic with you. We can hear you, but no, you just take the whole base.
Convenient. All right.
It's close enough.
Okay.
Speak loudly.
That won't be. So I'll try to flip through these as quickly as possible so we can start talking about input from you folks. This is Mr. Ruda's property. This is Mr. Ruda's existing home on Airport Road. The locust property is about 12.3, 12.4 acres. Wetlands along this side, wetlands along this side. This next graphic shows things much better. So this is a context plan we put together. The bright yellow line is the property limits. There's a large wetland that runs along the east side of, takes up a portion of the east side of the property and then continues off the property. Here's the along Dudley Hill Road. There's Pleasant View Farm, the golf course, Nichols College, just to kind of give everybody some context. There's also another small wetland off on the west corner of the property. So the whole property is, in the center of it, is essentially cleared. This plan shows maybe a little more detail of the site itself. There's a driveway that runs through the center of the property that comes off Airport Road. There's a portion of the property was subdivided a few years ago. There's a single-family residence back here. Right along that driveway is basically a ridge line. The site's relatively flat. Everything along the east side of the ridge line, the driveway, flows at about a 3% slope towards this wetland. Everything flows this way at a 2.5%, 3% slope towards this wetland. So it's a very flat property. I think it was formerly used as farmland. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's currently hayed.
There you go. And so it's relatively open. It's flat. I put together a plan that shows all these numbers along here. Just show views, but I won't go through all of them. But you can see from the photos that it's predominantly open field, a drive that runs through it. This is the entrance off of Dudley Road, Airport Road, excuse me. All kind of open with woodlands and wooded wetlands along the edges of it. That's the driveway. There's a buffer between on the south side of the property between the church and the property as well. So our client is proposing to develop this property through as an open space, as an OSRD. So we went through the exercise of developing a conventional subdivision that wouldn't require a by right conventional subdivision for the property, and we came up with a yield of 16 units. It's zoned what did I say? It's a zone residential 15. I keep calling it R15. Zone residential 15 for 15,000 square foot minimum lots. This design meets all the minimum frontage requirements, meets all the upland requirements, meets the build factor, meets all the requirements for density. It essentially is a by right subdivision, and like I said, it would yield 16 lots. This would be an A&R lot through here. That lot is already part of the off property. We would create a new easement for access drive to that, and then this piece down here would also be an A&R lot. So based off that 16 lot yield, we began some preliminary studies of what the OSRD development could look like. So we start with our 16 units that from the conventional subdivision. And through this design, we feel like we can probably get about six more units based on the density bonuses. You know, for every 4 units, I believe, from the traditional subdivision, you're allowed a density bonus of 1. So we feel like we could add 3 units through that. And then by preserving some common open space and creating some trails, about 4 acres, minimum of 4 acres of common open space and 25 or so 100 feet of trails, we see an additional density bonus of another 3 units. So this shows a yield of approximately 22 units. Each individual unit is footprint is about 45 by 60. We're based on our conversations with some real estate agent consultants. That seems to be a good size for something that'll be attractive to potential buyers, the 55 and over buyers. 2-car garage. So each floor plan would be about 2,000, 2,100 square feet. 400 or 500 square feet of garage. So the total footprint, including the garage, of each of these is about 2,500 square feet. Obviously, privately owned drive, there would be no ownership of the town for the roadway. That would be owned in perpetuity by the condominium association. And we're trying to meet we are not trying, we're meeting all of the open space criteria. Again, conserving as much open space and preserving the wetland as possible. We could move on from there and talk about the specifics of all that stuff. That's basically an overview of what Mr. Ruda is looking to develop with his property, and we came here tonight to let you guys know that we're thinking about this, get some initial feedback from the board and from any other, departments that are interested in providing feedback, and then looking for what steps you'll be expecting from us as we move forward in the process.
Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna sit down.
thank you. Board? Questions?
Is there a way to just put the 2 maps side by side somehow, or stagger them?
There absolutely is. If you give me 1 second.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've got a copy of it if you,
What's that?
I've got a copy of it too if you, well, it's not,
I happen to have it second.
there you go.
Well, so we'll just one off there. Just got to do this thing.
Yeah, no, that's fine, thank you. Mr. Chairman, while he's doing that, can I make a couple comments?
Sure.
This type of development, actually, when we did the town survey for the Economic Development Committee, this type of development was actually requested and almost in demand.
The over
Because,
55 or which
Uh,
type?
It's just the fact that as people get older, there were no townhomes, duplex, condo options available in Dudley. And when you see something like that at the location where it's at, which is really part of the, what we're trying to rebuild here, and, the traffic to Park and Shop and, the whole West Main Street, that little intersection. I mean, this is really kind of timely that something like this occurred.
One thing that I think people don't want to see too is a lot of stairways,
Yeah,
like in one level or two levels.
single level,
Not three levels,
yeah.
yeah.
That's actually part of how, my brother is an owner of about half the land. My brother Jim, and I own the other half, so we're in this together. But to John's point, my wife and I are of the age where we're looking to, we currently live on the second floor of the apartment adjacent to this property. And we're looking for a first floor, kind of a ranch, low or no maintenance, especially lately with the shoveling. So that's kind of how we were looking at the one in Weston. I said, gee, that's pretty nice. And it wasn't much around. So then we said, well, I'd like to stay on Airport Road. I've been there 66 years. So, we thought, hey, why not build something or have something built that would suit our needs? And if it suits our needs, it must be suiting a lot of other people, the baby boomer generation. So that's how we got into this.
Mm-hmm.
Say something while I think of it right now. So you and your brother are both involved in the ownership, right?
We what?
You and your brother are both involved in the ownership of the property?
Yes.
Make sure you both sign the application form, okay?
Okay.
I had an incident one time, not here, but another place I was working, where two brothers were not getting along, and only one signed it, and the other one found out. There was a lot of hard feelings, let's put it that way.
I hear ya.
So, Bob mentioned the other OSRD project here in town. I think it's called Oakview Estates, John's Way. So we looked at the plans for that, and we looked at the master deed for that, and we were trying to replicate a lot of the elements of that property into here, so that we're not trying to recreate the wheel, especially in terms of sort of like offsets and things like that. There's some minimum dimensional criteria in the zoning regs that, of course, we followed, but in terms of offsets, the zoning regs actually encourage us to try to keep things a little bit more compact. So we just looked at what they did at Oakview Estates and tried to sort of replicate that in terms of offsets to abutting properties. We actually have more offsets to the abutting properties. It's also double the size of that property. So that's the conventional subdivision, and that's the OSRD.
So is your intention to do this project as a 55 and older community?
That's correct. That's correct. We had to go through the exercise of developing the conventional subdivision exhibit so that we could develop a baseline for our unit yield.
Okay.
And to be able to show, I want to be able to show you guys that as a by right project, that's what could be developed here. But of course, that includes, that would contemplate town roads, town utilities, town services and stuff like that, whereas the OSRD is privately owned roadway, privately owned by the condominium association.
And that would all be taken care of with homeowner association fees or dues?
Pardon me?
The roads and everything would be taken care of with homeowner association?
Yeah, we would, I would imagine we would parrot what the way the master deed for Oakview Estates is written. We would be able to parrot that same language into this one.
Okay. So based on your current OSRD plan, you said that the total property is about 12 acres?
12.34 acres, yes.
Okay, based on that, how much open space do you have and how much wetlands do you have?
Yeah, so the open, well, the numbers are right on there. The open space is about, I'm gonna have to get up. I should know this, but I'm gonna get up. I don't want to make any mistakes. Common open space parcel is 7 acres, 56, which is 56.4% of the total land tract area. And 3.48 acres of that is upland, which is just over 50%, which I think was the threshold of common open space. At least 50% of it needs to be upland. So that's the number that we met.
Okay, so you were taking, from the conventional subdivision, you were taking the 40% bonus,
That's correct.
and then were you taking any of the other bonuses for the trails or for the
Yes. Yes.
income?
So we took the bonus for, I think it's for every 4 units, there was 1 density bonus unit for the, and then, so for every 2,500 linear feet of trail, there's a bonus of 1 additional unit. So we have over 2,500 feet of trails. Those sort of white dashed lines that you can kind of see along the perimeter through the open space, there's about 2,500, 2,600 feet, linear feet of trails. And for every 2 acres, I believe, of open space, there was a one more unit density bonus. So we have over 4 acres of open space, so I think that maximizes that density bonus. So that's where we got to the 6 total units. Every 2 acres is 1 additional unit, and we have 4 acres. So that's 2 units plus the 1 unit, the 1 unit for the trails, so that's 3. And then the 3, of course, for the density bonus from going from conventional to that.
And you realize that if you use the trails as a bonus, that the trails would be open to the public?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. They're not, it's hard to see on here, but there's sort of a property line here for the condominium association. You'll see that all the trails are outside of that property line, actually within this part of this open space parcel that sort of wraps around. The open space parcel wraps around the entirety of the development. And the trails are all contained in that. And I think there's a provision, if I remember correctly, in the zoning regs, that those trails could be deeded, for instance, to the Conservation Commission or something like that. And, I think Mr. Ruda would be willing to do whatever needs to be done to perpetuate that.
Right. I mean, the only issue we would be looking at from a town standpoint is that if it's deeded to the Conservation Commission, who's going to maintain them in the future?
Well, there's a lot of ways we can do it. I mean, this is the first time we've discussed it, so there's a lot of things that we can do.
So that's the only other density bonus that you used was the trails?
The trails and the open space.
Okay.
I think there are 3 possible density bonuses. We used 2 of those 3.
Right, and the third being the fact that you could put a deed restriction on 1 unit for affordable housing.
That's correct. We're not at this time looking at that.
Would you entertain that idea?
I'd have to discuss it with the client. We'd have to have further discussions.
Because that could help the town
I see.
immensely. Most towns in Massachusetts don't meet the Affordable Housing Act, so
Understood.
if we do something, even if it's 1 unit, it shows to the state that we're actively working to solve the problem. It's not going to solve it overnight, but it's helping.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've maxed out the bonus, density bonus, so we'd have to have a discussion about whether we were going to shift things around.
Right, but if you use that bonus versus building the trails, you may not have to build the trails. The trails would be more of an expense to build than just putting a deed restriction on 1 unit.
Mm-hmm.
It could save you money in the long run.
Absolutely. I guess we'd have to balance that between that and the amenities that we would be adding to the town.
Right.
Yeah. That's fair.
So basically, the roadway through the project would be private from Dudley Hill Road to Airport Road and everything in between,
That's correct.
and maintained by the,
That's correct.
okay.
That portion to the south,
I'm sorry, Don. I
is the
missed.
southwest corner it would be? The portion where the trail goes over the roadway that's part of the condo association.
Yeah, we were showing potential crossings.
Easement for the public to cross over there?
That's the idea would be for public to be able to cross through there. We could, whatever we need to do to the roadway to make it a safe crossing, whether it's a crosswalk or a raised crossing or something. We could work out that sort of detail as we move along in the process.
Have you been to the Water and Sewer Department yet?
I have, and I left my card the day I was here meeting with Don.
They've had to cancel 2 meetings because of storms, so.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I didn't get any
4th of
response.
April, I believe, is the next meeting, so.
I was under the impression that part of the pre-application hearing was that the various departments would be notified
They have been.
and be able to weigh in, so we were kind of hoping to get, some
But you,
some input from from any concerned town departments that we could definitely take under consideration going forward before any formal application.
right, but you do have to appear before the Water and Sewer Commission as their elected board, just like ours,
Sure.
and ask for the permits that you need for your water and sewer. Because for this situation, let's just say that they had enough sewer permits available for all your 22 units, was it 22?
That's correct.
for all 22 units, but they didn't have enough water available, then you would be forced to do like either a well for every unit or a community well.
Mhm.
And that community well, if it's more than, I think, 8 or 4 units, that it has to become considered a public water supply. And it's,
Right. So I had stopped by their office and I left a card and a message. I'm sure everybody's busy, right? So, and I never heard back, which is, I didn't really pursue with them because, as Bob just mentioned, we were kind of under the assumption that maybe there would be some feedback this evening. But if it means, as we move forward, going to sit in front of them as we're doing this parallel process with them with
Yeah.
units.
yeah,
I think that's fine.
it would be in your best interest to
That's
do that, yeah.
Yeah, we'd be happy with that.
There's currently not a moratorium on water or sewer that I know of, or is there, that you know of?
Well, I mean, for water, I don't know. I know we have a water issue in Dudley. We had wells that went bad or were contaminated that can be used any longer. And, I mean, I think for a single, somebody building a single-family house, there's not an issue. If you're on the water line, they'll connect you, but you're talking about more than a single-family house here. So
Mhm.
I'm not on the water commissioners, I can't tell you, but that would be the fear that I would have. I think you'll get sewer, my opinion. I think you'll get sewer, but I don't know about water.
Sometimes with sewer departments require, we call I&I, mitigation, infiltration, inflow,
Mm-hmm.
so that the amount that you're putting in isn't any greater than the amount it's going in now,
Sure.
because you might require you to fix leaks or something. I don't know what their policy is, but, they could require you to fix some leaks in the area or something like that, so
If you know the
build the capacity.
If you know the area, the new houses that were built 18 years ago coming up Airport Road from the Park and Shop Plaza, all those new colonials that were coming up the road, every one of those houses have town sewer, but they all have wells.
Yeah, I actually had a house in that same situation. But I had, kind of been keeping an eye on things, and I knew the moratorium had been lifted. So, one of the obvious advantages of the age 55 plus is that there'll, be a limited number of children that would,
Right.
if they're there, they're visiting.
Yeah.
Or they're a miracle.
Surprise. So is it my understanding that as far as height goes on each unit, it's going to be one level?
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct. All of them one level. I don't know. Basement, no basement, I don't know yet. That's way down the road.
Mm.
It's way down the road. We haven't looked at the soils out here or anything like that.
So
It's
visually,
farmland, so we feel pretty good about the soils, but we haven't done any test pits or borings or anything yet. We haven't gotten that far along in the process yet.
so visually, as you're driving up Airport Road, or if you're one of the neighbors along there, there really shouldn't be anything jumping up out of the sky or really kind
I don't
of
believe
running
so.
the horizon above the tree line, really.
The site's pretty well buffered right now
Yeah.
by a lot of mature vegetation. It's the wetlands on either side. The nice thing about the buffer for this project, especially in some of the single-family residences that you see through here, the buffer is on their property, so it's not going anywhere regardless, right? And then there's a huge buffer here. The neighbors to the south is a church with a parking lot, and the neighbors along here, there's a lot of buffer through here that's off of Mr. Lee's property too, before you get to the houses out onto Dudley Hill Road. So it's pretty well buffered already. It's sort of got a really nice natural buffer around it.
So one thing I don't know if you know about the development that was done out in West Dudley, I was on the board when we approved that one. One of the things that we did ask of the developer in that particular development was that they put a provision, and I don't know if it's in the association rules and regulations, or if it's in, I think it's a deed restriction, that at no time in the future what we were trying to prevent was, in the future, after this is all developed and you've got a group of people living there and they're residents, that they don't come back to the town and say, we want to have our road taken by the town and have it maintained by the town. So we put it in as a deed restriction that it's forever to be a private way.
Yeah. That language is in the master deed that I
Okay.
got a copy of downstairs the last time I was
Okay.
here.
And it's very, in fact, they put it in bold letters.
Okay.
So it's in there. It's
So
in there.
that's one
It's
thing I
it's
think
understood.
we would want to repeat for this one, too.
Understood. Understood.
Okay. Other questions?
Well, this for, we were looking at this sort of a link between this, through this area between the college and the Airport Plaza Shopping Center, so this really might serve to enhance that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm. Good. Very informative.
So
I
the
hope that
next,
we were able to share some good insight with you.
yes, absolutely. So the next steps, is there a time frame or anything like that that we need to be adhering to? Is there anything regarding town meeting or anything that we should be considerate of? Or should we just move along with, at our speed and come back to you with a more formal application?
Yeah, there's nothing relative to town meeting that you have to meet, so
Kind of on the
essentially,
definitive plan scale and the timeline rather, and the special permit site plan at the timeline at the same time, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're different timeframes, but you make them work together.
Yeah, so make them sort of work on a parallel track.
At the same time, too.
What's that? I'm sorry.
You submit them currently with the Conservation Commission, so at the same time, too.
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
there.
So the wetland boundaries that we're showing on these plans are approximate. The survey was done about a decade ago. So we'll go out and reflag the edges. We'll obviously be going to conservation to discuss with them. We'll get the new wetland edges approved and things like that. We can, it sounds to me like we can move a few things along the same parallel tracks to keep the project moving forward.
As far as this board goes, though, you're submitting, you're on two tracks at the same time, they're a little bit different, but you can make them work together.
Okay. All right. Now, if it's all right with
Definitive
you, I'll
plan
work
plus
with
plus the special permit, so.
definitive and special permit. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll work with you if you don't mind to shepherd those through.
but water and sewer would probably be a recommendation, be your next stop.
You recommend giving them an overview of the project as it stands right now before we even begin the definitive, and yes, everybody's nodding in the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you didn't get water and sewer, it's going to be hard to build.
Yeah, it's dead in the water.
Right.
A lot of wells.
Dead in, out of the water.
Yeah, dead out of water. Okay, that's great.
Although, if there is a challenge on the water sewer side, there is money available from the state. And the new budget actually has money to help with infrastructure so that development like this can take place.
Good.
And so, I'll follow it closely from the economic development side.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is a challenge with the water and sewer, just get in touch with Don at the planner, and we'll see if we can try to get some assistance from the state. Sometimes there's 0% loans as well, but there's also grant money that's out there specifically to help with these type projects right now.
Excellent. Excellent. That's
So-
good to know. That's good to know.
So, assuming that we can get town water and sewer, I'm trying to remember back from when I built a single-family house, I needed a driveway cut permit or something like that. Curb cut permit. What other permits would we need to have in hand before we came back to this board for an actual approval for the project?
You wouldn't need the curb cut because that's for a single-family home. This is going to be a roadway that you're laying out. That would get approved by the special permit and the definitive plan, because that all gets sent to the highway department when we're doing that, so that if they had any issues with what you were proposing, they would let us know, and we would ask you to correct that at that time. So that's kind of your curb cut already in play with the special permit and the definitive plan. I think just the water and sewer, and you said, did you say you already talked with the Conservation Commission?
No, that's my next stop too.
Okay, yeah, you would want to talk with them, Conservation. And you,
I think they're meeting tomorrow night. It's a little bit soon for you, but.
You-
a little soon. After that.
Yeah, okay.
You might want to think about talking to, you have other options for the open space, if you want to deed it to a, you know, it could be deeded to the town through the Conservation Commission, but Dudley also has the, we also have a nonprofit land trust in town, and maybe they would be interested in it.
That'd be great, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
options.
Right.
There's a lot of options for us that I think we can work our way through. We'll start, you know, we haven't started looking at drainage too much yet either. Once we start doing some soils exploration, we'll have a much better idea of how we're gonna handle drainage on site, and then we'll start initiating conversations with the town with that element of it as well, so.
I mean, the west side of that project's pretty close to the old Grand Trunk Railroad.
I'm sorry.
The west side of that project is pretty close to the old Grand Trunk Railroad that a lot of drainage from Nichols College runs into, so.
Okay.
I mean, you're not far from there if you needed drainage.
Yeah, this site, I think, at least where we have that sort of bulb out that you see up there in the conventional, there's a wetland there. It seems like a lot of the site just simply drains into that wetland, and all of the east side of it drains directly into the wooded wetland on the other side. I'm not sure where it goes from there. We haven't started looking at the macro view of the drainage and watershed yet, but.
What do you say the high point is, the drainage divide?
What's that? I'm sorry?
What do you say the high point is the drainage divide, in other words? What would you say the high point is in the?
high point.
The high point on the property right now,
Yeah,
it's that driveway that bisects the site. That driveway that.
pretty much.
There's a driveway that runs in through this, right now, and runs to this home. This is the high point. Everything else goes this way, that way, right back.
Okay.
One other question?
Yeah.
Have you engaged the homeowner whose driveway is going to be affected by this yet?
That was my previous home, and so I actually own the driveway, and he has the right to use it. But we'll be talking with all the neighbors. We didn't want to go to the neighbors yet before we met and got input at this meeting. And so now our plan is roughly to go to all the neighbors and informally tell them what's going on, knowing that we're going to have to formally advise them prior to any approval, that they'll be legally notified, but this would be a face-to-face kind of an explanation of what we're hoping to accomplish.
Isn't that house currently in the same property that you're trying to develop?
No,
So-
I sold it,
You sold it, okay.
yeah.
See, there's a property line there. That property line.
The 2 rows of trees, 1 row is on my land and 1
Yeah.
row was retained on that house, so.
And on the OSRD plan, it looks like you are from just, I'm thinking that they're probably similar scale, but you are looking at narrowing the roadway and having less impervious area. You weren't looking at the subdivision control regulations for roadway width and all that.
No.
Okay.
No, we were purposefully reducing pavement width,
Right.
things like that. You know, trying to create more of a focus on pedestrian circulation than vehicular
Right.
circulation.
Yeah.
So
Sort of on a waiver basis to
Right,
stand this way, but maybe different this way.
right.
But, yeah, but
That's good.
yeah, I think we're thinking of the roadway the way they did at John's Way is more of a as a large driveway than an actual, you know.
Yeah,
roadway.
the one advantage that John's Way has is that it's a cul-de-sac, basically.
Yeah.
So people aren't gonna go down there unless they have to. What you're proposing here is gonna be a cut-through, and people are gonna try to drive through there. So you wanna do everything you can to slow it down.
That's exactly right. Aside from the reduced pavement width, there's other traffic calming, pedestrian-oriented traffic calming measures that we'll be able to incorporate as we move along too, that I think will really help, and they'll create great amenities for the potential condo buyers too.
Right.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you very
time.
much. Thank you.
Move over here, Dan.
Get comfortable. Second I get over there, Kevin will come in.
Okay, so we are moving on to item D. Preliminary subdivision plan, 20 single-family lots with access to 27 Jesse Road, 4 lots, Dudley Realty Trust applicant. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joseph Abisamra. I'm representing the applicant today, 4 lots of 4 lots Dudley Realty Trust. The owner actually is not, the applicant's is not here, not available tonight. Basically, we submitted a preliminary subdivision plan already, and a set actually. I'm just gonna give you a brief rundown of everything that we're doing. It's located on Jesse Road. The access is 27 Jesse Road. It's right between Mason Road and Alton Drive, if you guys are familiar with that. It's actually a really low spot, kind of narrows out. It's really underdeveloped across the street. And this is the actual lot. It's a 17+ acre lot, mostly all wooded. There's along the west side, it's all mostly wetland. There's a little bit of upland.
Excuse me, do you have any small handouts that you could give us, or?
I only have one copy of the small handouts.
Which number is this?
Look at this. So I'm basically going to be summarizing the second sheet, the existing conditions plan. So if you look on the west side, Mason Road, Jesse Road cuts right through to Alton Drive. It's all already subdivided up there. It's mostly residential. It's zoned residential 15, 15,000 acre lots. The frontage is 100 feet. It's a mostly flat parcel of land. We were out there surveying. A lot of the neighbors came out. They noticed we were out surveying. They actually said there might have been a baseball field or something out there. It's mostly flat. It's overgrown right now, but you could tell there was something out there. This bordering Alton Drive, it's pretty steep, probably for pretty steep slope that grades back up to Alton Drive to the back of the houses. They have a flat yard, but goes up to Alton. The other plan that I'm gonna This is the grading and drainage plan. It's really the overview of the whole site. It's sheet 5 of the 7. It's going to be a 20-lot by right subdivision of the land. There's going to be 5 lots coming off of Jesse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with frontage on Jesse Road. This road is going to be a 800-foot long cul-de-sac with 15 houses on it. It's a 50-foot right-of-way, and the sidewalks on either side, and a 26-foot wide road all the way down. My colleagues already talked to the water and sewer. There's water and sewer both on Mason and Jesse. We talked to them, and they informally said that they like to see a water main, which is what we're showing, an 8-inch ductile iron water main connecting actually from Mason Road all the way back up to Jesse. That'll be the water. We're going to also input 3 hydrants, one right at the beginning, right in the middle, and then right at the very end at the end of the water main itself. So 3 hydrants. The sewer, because this is a really low spot, coming back up to Mason and even lower than coming back up to Alton. So The sewer department requested that they put individual E1 pumps, not submersible, macerator pumps actually on each lot that the landowners themselves are going to be maintaining. It's going to be into a forced main that's going to be pumped up to Mason Road. There's already a manhole at the end of Mason that connects the two. We're going to be putting it right into there. For drainage, we haven't worked out too much of the drainage because this is just the preliminary. We know what we're going to do, though. We're going to put it, this cul-de-sac goes to a low spot. I would say that lot's 15. I think that's about 500 feet down the road. That's going to be the low spot. There's going to be two catch basins right at the throat, right before the cul-de-sac. One at the low spot, and then one in between the not between Jesse and the low spot right there. It's going to be underground pipe to the. We have lots of room right here to put a detention basin. This is a fully by right subdivision, other than the fact that it's by right, it should only we're going to request a waiver for the 600-foot long and only 12 houses on the lot. The other alternative, the owner who owns this, or the developer who owns this, actually owns, there's one undeveloped lot right here. We had an alternative, and we did talk to, I'm not sure who my boss talked to. I think it was someone either from planning or the commission.
Talk to me.
He must have talked to you, yeah.
It's very steep.
It's extremely steep coming from here to there. We could put a road. We would get the same amount of houses. It would actually add about 350 feet of really steep road coming back up. And it would be a through road rather than a cul-de-sac.
We do have a regulation for road grade at, I believe it's 20% or 18%.
It's something like 33%.
Yeah, I know that grade that's there, so I'm assuming that you guys are planning on doing some kind of retaining wall for those houses that are on the...
Right in the back right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we show grading because we could grade it up 3 to 1. This is a very deceptive plan. It's a 17-acre lot overall, and this is at 60 scale. It's a very big lot, and there was a lot of grading going on right here. We probably would put we probably wouldn't put one wall. We'd probably put a series of walls going back, cutting it back up into the hill.
Okay.
You're talking stepped?
Yeah, instead of the grade change, just to get back to those people's property lines are about, I don't have it in front of me, but I was back there. I know they're probably 20, 15 feet, even more.
I mean, on the map that you sent electronically, I was looking at it because you can blow it up, and I was doing the calculations, and there was a 30-foot grade change there.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you built a 2-story house, your backyard would be higher than your roof.
Yeah, you'd be looking at the trees, the snow coming down.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
About 20 years ago, the town actually auctioned off, thought it was a 17-acre piece, Jesse Road, because there were like huge issues with the land. Town, at the time, I guess most of it was unbuildable. It was sold at auction for like pennies on the dollar. Was this the one?
I actually did most of the research on this, and I think Alton Road was built. These were all built at the same time. The Alton Road and Francis, pretty close. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, because these were all built.
No, it was on Jesse Road.
This is
It was an old.
this is town of Dudley land right here.
Yeah, but no, this one was actually sold at auction. I guess there used to be a subdivision. There was a proposed subdivision there we're talking about 40, 50 years ago. And then they tried to do something. I don't know if it was a water issue. They couldn't perk it. They couldn't do something. I'm just curious if this was the piece that was at one time the town had actually taken in lieu of back taxes.
Well, the only thing I could think of is this is already subdivided.
Yep, I know.
And other than that, right across from our entrance, this is all town-owned land. There's one house that's right at the bottom. I don't know if you guys must be familiar with Jesse Road, but that's right at the bottom of the hill. And then it's all flat, and it's all, I'm pretty sure it's all town deeded, all the way until you get, there's a little culvert right here, till you get to that house.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, there's a little brook going through there. That must be what you're talking about.
Leonardo owns these
Here,
lots, but
I think it's your second sheet that shows all of the lots across the street as being owned pretty much. Right.
Yeah, I know that there's a house, Di Donato house, is that right across, maybe it's down a little bit, but there is some open land over there.
Yeah, there's like a house here roughly, then a house here, then there's 4 or 5
Yeah.
lots that are empty in between them that
Yeah.
kind of sinks down.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wetland, and then this little sliver where the actual creek goes is owned by the town. And then behind these, we didn't show it, but all beyond this page, it's all town owned.
Leading up to the high school.
So, based on your plan here, where is, I'm assuming the large piece to the east, that's your open space?
We're not sure what we're gonna do with this yet. We don't actually need open space. This is just, we subdivide it off, because this is all the upland. In here, we went through, there's a stream that's coming through, there's wetlands, you can tell these are wetland flags coming down. Actually, it extends beyond and through our property. There's a little bit of upland through here. Somewhere in here, there's a little bit of upland, but to chase that 1 or 2 lot down there, I don't think we're gonna do it. We don't really need open space, because it's all
You do per the bylaw.
per the bylaw, well then, yeah, we probably would deed that over as open space.
Okay. And you need an access to get to it from the subdivision. Now, I know you've got a sewage easement going through between 2 of the lots, but I believe the access to get to the, if I remember right, I don't have my subdivision control rules and regulations with me, but I believe it was 40 or 50 feet that needs to be allowed for to access.
Would they still be able to access it right through Jesse Road? This is still all frontage on Jesse Road.
The intention of the open space is for the people who live in the community to be able to access it.
Okay. I mean, we could definitely show an easement coming between these houses, any one of these houses, really.
Right, because
A lot of the grading we're gonna have access in there anyway, because this is where there's gonna be a pond back here. So we're gonna have an access wide enough, probably 15. Usually we try to keep it above 15 feet for the access, for maintenance and everything. But I'll make that comment that definitely access to the back, to the open lane is what you're saying, open space?
Right.
And I'm pretty sure we will be back next week. I just wanted to introduce this to you guys, and I think it already went to a review.
Went to review with our engineering consultant. However, we were gonna look at it on Tuesday. I don't think that's gonna happen this week.
I was supposed to come down here, I think, every 2 weeks for the last 2 weeks to meet up with the Water and Sewer Commission, and it's been postponed, because it snowed every time.
I get the word they're meeting on the 4th, so you might make it this time.
All right, I'll write this one down.
4th of April.
And if you are going to ask for a waiver for the cul-de-sac to be longer than 600 feet, you're going to want to get a letter from the fire department, from the fire chief, and a letter from the highway department,
Okay,
because those are the people that have to deal with.
going all the way down.
Right.
Yeah.
In the past, when we've had subdivisions like this, where people have proposed them longer, we've gone with, in some cases, boulevard entrances. So,
Yeah.
Could I ask what you're gonna do? I mean, your roof line is gonna be lower than your hill on the left side. I mean, if I'm counting that right, 2 foot?
Those are, yeah.
You're talking 20, 25 feet. And then
At
you
this-
have what, like 5 feet from your back door almost?
Because this plan shows without any retaining walls. We could cut it back a lot more with the retaining walls, but no matter what we do, if we put the houses, the lots aren't deep enough to set the house way up. I mean, we can set them up, we can do as much as we can to push them up the hill, but no matter what, they'll be looking up at a hill or at a wall.
All right, so it is your intention at this point, a retaining wall all the way
Yeah,
across? All
yeah.
right.
Have you done any geotechnical yet?
Other than, no, actually, because we wanted to do the wetlands first. We didn't want to go out there and start digging up in the wetlands, and we probably will be doing, we skipped over test pits because we were also debating about putting septic systems actually on some of these lots, and I don't think we actually ever went back out there and actually started digging.
The only other thing that I looked at and saw was where you've got those other lots that go along the edge of Jesse Road.
These ones, or?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I see that you're proposing sidewalks on both sides of the road, but they kind of end at the...
Yeah, there are no, this is just from the subdivision regulations. There's actually no sidewalks on Jesse Road until you get back up to this subdivision, well, this, not subdivision, but this newer development that's up here.
Right, but might not be a bad thing if you included the sidewalks out to the end of your new houses that you're building, just to make it all uniform. I mean, we're never going to get sidewalks if we don't start putting them in someplace.
You're saying right here, right, wrapped right around the fronts?
Run them up to the edges of the new lots.
Yeah. The only thing we can definitely show that
I mean,
it would be in the right of way of the, of Jesse Road.
Right. I mean, this is very close, I think you know it's very close proximity to the Mason Road Elementary School. So even if kids aren't walking to school, they're gonna walk to the end of the cul-de-sac to pick up the bus.
Yeah.
You know, so rather than having the kids all congregate in the corner, at least
At
if
the
there's a
very
side-
end of the
if there's-
concrete, yeah.
There's a sidewalk for them to stand on, it might be a little bit better. And I didn't see on your plan, but I'm assuming that you were probably proposing at least one or more fire hydrants?
Yeah, I probably quickly talk through that. There was, actually, this one's highlighted a little bit. There's gonna be one at the very end of right at the beginning of the road, halfway down, and then one at the very end, at the end of the main.
So
We're
3.
gonna put 3 of them in.
The 8-inch main that you talked about would support all that?
Yep.
Okay, and what about street lighting?
We can definitely show street lighting. We do not show any on this plan.
Okay.
And I'm not positive if there's street, I know the wires come down probably to this person's house for lighting. I don't know where they catch back up going down this way, but we can definitely show some down our road. And maybe
Light at the intersection.
right at the intersection, yeah, most likely be the.
Yeah, at least one at the intersection and one probably at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you had done all the calculations for the bill factors?
Yes.
Lot 20 made it?
For the build factor.
Because that's a very...
Which one is, hold on.
It's a small lot, but extremely large amount of perimeter.
That's one to the east, right there.
Actually, I did that one. On this plan right here, it says build factor. I checked it. I double checked that actually before I came to this meeting.
And it works?
Yeah, it works. That one works.
Come out with.
That one was, it was 19 or something.
Came out with about 15 or 17, I don't.
Maybe, yeah, maybe, well, I did a couple of them. One of them was 19. I did this one down here, these 2 over here, and this one.
Yeah.
That one might have been low. It might have been 15 or something like that. But it's 23, right, isn't the max?
23, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Usually small lots with large perimeters don't come out very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest concern is going to be retaining walls.
Yeah, for sure.
It starts the clock, so we've got at least until the first meeting in April to take a look at this. And seeing as our consultant's gonna go out there next week, it's not gonna happen.
Okay.
We can go out there, but we can't see anything, so.
Right.
They'll probably put, yeah.
And you do think when you
So,
come back, you'll have
Like this
you'll
stuff.
have your information from the Water and Sewer Department? Is that your intention?
Yeah, before, we can have an official letter. Before, it was just we were supposed to go to the meetings. My boss went the day before it snowed, so it was last Tuesday, and it was an unofficial thing with the water and sewer, but yeah, we can try to get that.
I think your client owns a couple pieces of land on Altwood that are undeveloped right now. Do they have any plans to develop those before the subdivision?
The only one, he has the corner of Jesse and Francis. That one's already built. There's one right here. It doesn't show on this because we actually surveyed it before. There's one right there that's already built. I don't know if it's, I actually haven't been down here in a while.
Yeah.
This is the only one that he continues to own, and we left
street?
it open for the option for the alternative.
Other questions, guys?
I just took some quick notes and things we might want to discuss between now and the next session. I can have a few copies here. I don't think I made one for everybody, but.
Would you know approximately what type of housing you're looking at putting in here? I mean, are we talking about 2,500 square foot colonials? Are we talking 2,000 square foot split entries, or?
These buildings that we show right here, these are preliminary buildings. They're shown at 26 by 50 or 28 by 50. And I'm not sure what the developer wants to do or what the owner wants to do with it. I know he wants to fit in with what's around here. These two, I forgot, I'm not sure off the top of my head what they look like. I know they look like the other ones on the street. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be building anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, they're mostly small ranches over there.
They're all small ranches, yeah. That's the other reason we try to, these are all really level where the houses are coming off the road. It's really level to the house itself. It's the only real tough part is this hill in the backyard coming down on the southwest side. But other than that, the whole road and the actual house lots themselves are graded pretty flat, except for a handful of them. Not even a handful.
I think we've talked about most of these things, so. The street length, the 12 lots. Retaining walls. The driveway to lot 20, I have to talk with the building inspector about that, about our interpretation. I'm not quite sure that that meets the frontage requirement as stated in the bylaw amendment that we made the last town meeting.
Right. There's a bylaw that says that you have to access your property over your frontage.
Over your own frontage.
Over your own frontage.
I think parcel B should be labeled as non-buildable. Now, the name of the subdivision is Dudley Estates. I don't know if there are any other subdivisions named Dudley Estates, but we don't necessarily want to confuse it with them if there are.
Yeah, we would have to look at that. The other thing too is, I don't know if you're thinking about street names, but we have a list of approved street names for the town that you could look at to pick a name from. If
Okay.
you wanted to do something other than that, you'd have to, we used to have a street naming committee, but I don't know if that's still in
It's
effect.
through the assessor's office or the selectman's
Town
office?
clerk, I think, has the street names, yes, the list of approved street names.
Okay.
So if your client wanted something different, he may have to have like a warrant article or something.
Okay. I think you'll probably pick from the approved street name, I would
Well, I
assume.
know there's a lot of presidents' names on that list, so maybe he'll have a favorite president.
Yeah.
No one won't be named.
Who is Four Lots Realty Trust? Have they ever built anything? Any of the principals ever done any subdivisions in Dudley before?
I don't believe so in Dudley, but he does have a lot of experience in other parts of Nino, Massachusetts. We have a couple different jobs with him, a couple different open concepts with him right now. He's building, I think he just calls it this one's called four lots because he got 4 lots out of this particular investment.
Has he ever had any, has the company ever been in default? Have they never not completed a subdivision?
No, I do not believe so.
Bonds ever called on him?
No, no, he's
All right.
pretty good.
That's a good question. I mean, right now, the way our current rules and regs are laid out, if your client was to go through and build the street and the infrastructure and everything out, we currently have it as, you know, if you put the infrastructure in and build it all, and then build the house as secondary, which some developers do, in the past, most developers until they didn't want to do that, but the way the rules and regs are laid out, if they do that all, then you're not required to actually post a bond if all the infrastructure is complete. Then you just start building your houses. It's like you're building, you know, it's almost like you're building A&R lots
Mm-hmm.
because the road's complete.
So you're saying build the whole road first?
That's the way our rules and regs are laid out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna follow that, then you can do what you want, or you can ask for a waiver to do like sub-base paving and put in all the final coat later on and stuff like that.
No, I believe he'd probably do everything, and he'd probably build the whole road, all the infrastructure, most likely the pond, work his way back up, do all the piping, leave everything in the road as raw, and then maybe definitely do all the grading, build those walls in the back, and build the whole road itself at first. I'm not positive, but I'm sure he's more experienced than that than I am, so I'm sure he'll find the best way.
Retention basin, whatever, should be built and functioning by the time the first coat of pavement goes down.
Yeah, it definitely will be.
That's good.
Limited drainage info, but is the water table high? I mean, I don't know how much room you have vertically
For the water table itself,
water table itself, yeah.
I'm assuming it's probably fairly high. It's probably not super deep because this is all wetland right here. I'm not sure. It might be more of a retention basin, like a detention basin actually, than an infiltration pond. You know, probably just hold the smaller storms and.
Well, just to give you a heads up, most of the houses on Alton Drive are built on slabs, so that might tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, this one, and also on Francis, I could hear when we were serving, I could hear the sump pump going. Must be the only one with a basement.
Talking about the ownership of parcel B, I believe, so we do that. You had an easement area on lot 10, where, I couldn't really find that.
Say that again? Easement
Yeah,
on
lot
Lost 10?
Mentioned it somewhere on the plan. I'm not mistaken.
It could have been a mistake. The only easement I can see is be over 20, so that's over lot 19, 18, and over 17. I think there's going to be a sewer easement. This is probably going to change what you guys just told me because of the driveway, the laws, the bylaw. So these might change a little bit. That must have been a mistake over lot 10. I don't see why they would be.
I don't know if there's drainage going along the back or something.
It could be for access.
You didn't list a lot of dimensions or frontages or build factors, so when you come back again, you can list those.
Okay.
Suggest that they probably would be best to come back. We have 45 days, so it's probably best that you come back in April. It's April 11th. Does that sound right?
And as far as access for lot 20 goes, I mean, I don't know if the building inspector's had a chance to look at this, but,
Graves?
no, building inspector.
The building inspector, he does have a copy of it, but I was going to try and talk to him about it.
Okay,
now,
because
actually.
our building inspector in town is the zoning enforcement agent, so.
I was hoping to get comments back by the 22nd, but I don't know if that's going to happen with this,
Right.
with the crazy weather we have.
I mean, if he agrees that doesn't meet the intention of the current zoning bylaw, your other option would be to go to the ZBA and ask for a waiver or variance, whatever is necessary.
Okay.
Good?
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night, all right?
Thank you.
Did you sign in, sir?
Yeah, I'll sign out, actually.
Okay, thank you. Do you need your copy of this back?
You could, no, you can keep it if you want. Hopefully we did send down enough copies.
Yeah, you send me copies. Yeah.
Next time we'll bring more for you guys to hand out.
Okay. Moving on to item E, discussion on finishing construction of and acceptance of uncompleted and unaccepted subdivision streets. Don, update?
When he's on.
Tony, you here for that? You here to give us an update, Tony?
Yeah. Soon with the permitting, I want to start working on finishing up the old road and start a new one, start the last phase. But I need to, I'm supposed to meet Jeff Walsh there, but with the weather that we get the last couple of weeks, we couldn't do it because we can't see anything. So I guess we're gonna probably move it up to the next meeting.
Okay.
So I'd like to meet Jeff there. Yeah, so, but that's the plan, you know. I was gonna start a couple weeks ago with beautiful weather, and I was ready to get trucks over there, backhoes, and start doing sidewalks and stuff like that, but I postponed every day.
It's spring before we get winter these past couple of years.
All right. So you want to be on the next agenda in 2 weeks? You want to be back on the next agenda in 2 weeks?
Yes, I'd like to be back on the next meeting after I meet with Jeff Walsh there, so we can go over the wall situation and be probably a good idea.
I'm sure your buddy Don will put you on.
I spoke with him. He issued a revised estimate for the remaining work. It's in your package. Yep. In your notebook. You got this, didn't you? Got a copy of the letter that he sent?
I was going to ask for reduction on my bond on the last piece that we did for the electrical.
You're looking for what, a reduction on the bond?
Yes. I think we had about $29,000 for the electrical. That is done. I got people living there, so.
And that's based on what? Because of what's been completed?
Yes, all the electrical is done, totally done. And again, now also we have physical money for the bond, because I already returned all the money to the bank to substitute the letter of credit.
So you're talking about on phase 2B.
It was about 120,000 altogether.
It was 120.
And what I got was like 26, 29, I believe, of the number was for electrical.
Okay, so the letter that we got here dated March 14th from Graves, he estimates that you're down to rounded numbers, 88,000 for the remaining of the work. Does that sound right?
I didn't.
88,000.
The letter from Graves dated March 14th, today, that he's stating that your current amount to finish the subdivision, all the work that's remaining to be done, comes up to 88,000.
80,000?
Right.
That sounds right.
And your bond was around, what'd you say,
120.
120?
Yeah.
So you're You're looking like a $42,000 reduction? 32. Yeah, 32.
So it's already been, so it looks like he's already made that recommendation.
Right. Correct.
Do you want to vote on it?
Yeah, so.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we would reduce the amount of bond for the Pierpont Estates project, site development subdivision construction budget for Phase 2B of the project, down to the new total recommended by consulting town engineer Graves to $88,000.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we get a motion to reduce the amount of bond for the Pierpont Estates subdivision down to $88,000 as per Graves Engineering's recommendation. All those in favor, and we've got a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
This last phase that we did, he's gonna be finished at the same time as I do the rest of stuff, whatever is played over there. So, I'm gonna finish everything, except the new phase that the last phase that I'm gonna start, after we meet next time, our next meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get something from Graves. You said you want to meet him there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he'll give us an idea about what's left and what it is you're looking to do.
Okay.
Spoke to him a little bit about what you were saying about the double catch basins and the drainage system in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess we'll probably talk about that at the site between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, I want him to come down so we can go over the whole situation, sidewalks, the road and everything else. So I
Yeah.
want to come in with all the information.
I don't know if the weather will allow that this week, but we're supposed to get another storm on Tuesday.
We wait for the next one. We're patience. We have a lot of patience.
We have to.
Yeah.
So with the final phase that you talked about starting after you complete everything here, would that be started this year, 2018, or is that next year?
Yeah, I don't have any more lots.
Okay,
I sold all the lots, on the last stretch that we did, 6 lots, they all sold, so I gotta look for something else,
okay,
keep myself busy.
okay.
And out of trouble.
A few more lots.
Maybe get in more trouble.
A few more lots if you bring the roadway all the way around, don't you?
Maybe 16 more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe buy a mill.
We have a nice mill for sale. Hurry up and finish Pierpont, and you can start Slater's Mills.
Really good price, right, John?
That's right.
Yeah. No, we should have everything, we should have, we're definitely gonna have the road connect, before the end of the year.
Okay,
So, yeah, I'm ready to go to work.
and that's, I mean, with that little piece that's left there, I'd say you've got more than 2/3 of the roadway in, so that's probably
Yeah,
less
way
than
more.
less than a
What's gonna
third.
be left is gonna be, station 10 to station 20, 1,300 feet,
1,300 feet.
1,300 feet.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably probably gonna be like 20% of the subdivision. All right.
And I know you guys are gonna miss me, but I have to get out of this town.
I think the people will love being able to drive around without having to turn around at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Getting old over here.
All right, well, thanks for coming in. We
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
the update.
Thank you very much.
So you know what I usually do with this, when a lot of credits reduced, they'll send a letter to the bank asking them to confirm it, and in writing that they agreed to the reduction and asking for a new letter, 88,000.
Yep.
Can you take care of that, Don?
Hear that?
All right. What else? Any other update on subdivisions?
Pretty much work with this weather.
Okay. And we're gonna skip the planner's plate tonight, if you don't mind. Or you have something quickly you wanna present?
You have vacation day tomorrow.
Oh, you are? Good for you.